We begin here in Israel, where tensions are boiling in Jerusalem. The Hamas terror group is calling on Palestinians to mobilize for Friday prayers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in defense of the holy site in Jerusalem, with Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh holding a phone call with Russia's foreign minister on the situation. Palestinian rioters and Israeli police have clashed for 3 days in a row at the mosque. The Al-Aqsa Mosque sits inside the Temple Mount compound, holy to both Jews and Muslims. The compound has been a flashpoint as the holidays of Passover and Ramadan coincide and worshippers gather at the site. The Arab League is calling on Israel to end Jewish prayer inside the compound, warning it is an affront to Muslim feelings that could trigger a wider conflict. Israeli police will reportedly bar non-Muslims from visiting the Temple Mount and the Al-Aqsa Mosque starting tomorrow until the end of Ramadan in an effort to de-escalate the situation.
Israel is breaching its duties as an occupying country in accordance with international law, breaching the right of Palestinians to reach sacred venues, breaching the Palestinian right of worship. Israel is breaching the historical and legal situation at Al-Aqsa Mosque, breaching Palestinian human rights.
We are focused on 3 priorities. The first is to halt the escalation and respect the historical and legal situation of Ramadan. And if this happens, we have been told it will contribute to the situation calming down. After the holy month of Ramadan, moves must be taken to ensure that what happened does not happen again. And as I said, attacks have to be stopped and there must be respect for historical and legal situation at Al-Haram. Third priority is that the situation cannot go on as it is in the occupied Palestinian territories, and a political solution must be found to return to negotiations that take us to a 2-state solution.
And joining me now in studio is former IDF Colonel Dr. Jacques Neria. Jacques, thank you very much for joining us. I want to ask you, how serious, in your opinion, is Hamas's call for mobilization?
Well, we should be very careful and I would say watchful, because indeed Hamas's intention is to incite the Palestinians in the West Bank, I mean Samaria and Judea, and to create havoc inside Israel, because I mean the Hamas has in its mind what happened a year ago during the Guardians of the Wall, when the Arab population of Israel in Israel just sort of revolted. And I think that what Hamas is doing right now is exactly a repeat of what was a year ago. So right now, this is why it's refraining from firing from Gaza. I mean, and the one who's firing is the Islamic Jihad. But on the other hand, the incitement inside the territories is so much felt by Hamas operators that the situation is like we're sitting right now on explosives. And it's a matter of time that those explosives explode and the situation will be no more under control. Right now, it's under control.
But in your opinion, can Hamas afford another war now? We're only just a year after the war in 2021.
Well, our logic is not their logic. Our mentality is not their mentality. Without being, I mean, the extreme, the way they think is different. I mean, they believe that what happens in the fact that the police stopped yesterday the flags from going through the streets of the old city is because of their policy, whereas we think that this is because our behavior and we want to contain the situation. So their interpretation is different than ours, and what is logical for you is illogical for them, and vice versa. So I think that basically Hamas believes very much that he can influence the situation, and he's working on that all the time.
I want to ask you, what's your take on Bennett's security policies when it comes to Jerusalem, especially following this wave of terror that we've seen for the past 3 weeks here in Israel?
Well, you know, I've been the advisor of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin before, and I say that those shoes are very difficult to go inside and to rule, and certainly to control the situation of this sort of crisis. I mean, if you look at the situation, really, I mean, he's trying his best. But the situation is just overwhelming, and he is just trying to survive. He's sinking in a series of reactions which are not meant finally to stop what's happening in Jerusalem. This is the way it is right now.
How would you compare it to those tactics of Benjamin Netanyahu, for example?
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu didn't do anything better. I mean, we remember the different episodes of during his 12 years tenure. That I mean, the situation right now is the conclusion of what happened in those 12 years. Now, the fact that Bennett is trying to behave or to try to inject a policy, a
more de-escalatory approach.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's meant to contain the situation. It's not to there's no one who can gain here or win a victory. There's no victory to win here.
Quickly, I want to ask you, do you think this escalation could affect Israel's ties with the UAE and Bahrain?
Well, it already has. You know, the Emirates were supposed to participate in the flyover Israel in the Day of Independence, and this is not happening. Bahrain and others. Look, we can say whatever we want about the Abraham Accords. We will never forget. I mean, those who try to assess the situation, we will never forget that the crux of the situation is the Palestinian issue. If it is not solved, then all the rest will not happen.